الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, we were supposed to continue with our ideas and thoughts about Surah Al-Ma'idah, but I'm going to take a break today to talk about something else, and there is a reason for that. Last night in the Isha, who was with us in Isha last night? Probably nobody here. No. So, the Isha, after I prayed the Isha, I noticed that you had a guest with us in the lines after the prayer, and he sometimes visits and sometimes gives podcasts, and he was here last night, and I invited him. I said, why don't you come and give us a little mini talk after the Isha has concluded, which he kindly obliged to do. And his main idea that he presented was as follows: that he's talking about himself. He's saying, I am a Muslim. I say La ilaha illallah and I try to do good deeds. I don't want to sit and listen to a preacher telling me about Azab al-Qabr and Jahannam and all the punishments, all sorts of punishments that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in store. It doesn't appeal to me. Okay? And his take was that since you are a believer and you are on the righteous path, you should not bother yourself with the al-adab and the hellfire and this and that. And Mr. Saad, and part of this notion is okay, but part of it did not sit with me comfortably. And whenever something, just يحيك في الصدر, meaning something is inside that doesn't really sit well. I was just driving home. I said, why I am not so comfortable with the presentation the way it was? And the more I thought about it, the more I found the reasons for my little discomfort with it. I understand his rationale, and however, I wish some of you would have been with us last night, so it would have been a counter-argument to an argument that they have listened to. But I am going to present this argument to you, and and as such, we will take a break from Tafsir al-Ma'idah, and just like when you're watching a regular programming on TV, and then they have some breaking news, and they interject with that. And, so we have breaking news here. I want to talk to you about what are known as, the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of the form ittaqullah. In the Quran al-Kareem, ittaqullah. Be fearful of Allah. Surprisingly, or non-surprisingly actually, this command in this very form, taqullah, had appeared in the Quran al-Kareem for 55 times, in 55 different places in the Quran. So, it is something that has been repeating message. It's a repeating message that's been emphasized over and over in the Quran, here and there. طيب. Of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the 99 names that we know, some of these names embody what are known as Sifat al-Jamal, the attributes of beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then some of them contain what is known as the attributes Sifat al-Jalal, the attributes of mightiness. And the attributes of might would be probably things along the line of الكبير المتعال الجبار المنتقم. Such attributes are attributes of might. القدير العزيز العليم. Somebody who is powerful, who has the full ability to enforce his will, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is capable of inflicting punishment. Muntaqim. He will get the revenge of people. Gabbar. On the other hand, you have Sifat al-Jamal, al-Ghafur, al-Rahim, al-Wadud, al-Latif, al-Khabir, right? And many more. So, you may even define taqwa Allah as, we always say, fear of Allah. And I always emphasize that that is really a deficient description that we only have to go for because of lack of other better descriptions. Because the taqwa you cannot find a one-to-one correspondence for in the English language. Fear, no. It really, strictly speaking, is not fear. Al-Arabic is a rich language. The language of the Quran is a rich language. If you're talking about fear, there is khawf. Khawf is fear. You see a lion, that's fear. But we do not say that with Allah is the same impression as if you've seen a lion. No. Because you know, and I know, that term embodies way much more meaning than simple fear. It does contain an element of fear indeed, but it also contains an element of desire of the reward from Allah, right? Love for Allah, many other things that are embodied in that very simple statement, taqwa Allah. So, if you want to define taqwa Allah, you may define it as for seeking the attributes of beauty of Allah, taharri sifat al-jamal, and being careful about sifat al-jalal, and be on the watch when it comes to sifat al-jalal. I think that's a good explanation of what taqwa is. Of what taqwa is. So any believer is really looking for the mercy of Allah, and is also at the same time fearful of the punishment of Allah, right? Fearful of the punishment of Allah. And between these two sides of a pendulum, his life goes on. His life goes on. In Surah Al-Sajdah, and Mawla Azza wa Jal says in verse number 14, تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. The verse states the following: تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع, يعني the sides leave their comfortable beds and they stay up, make qiyam layl, يعني تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع يدعون ربهم, they pray for Allah. How? In what state? خوفا وطمعا, out of fear and out of desire. Fear of his punishment and desire of his reward. مش كده؟ يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا ومما رزقناهم ينفقون, and they also spend of that which we have given them of rizq. You see, those actions that bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're called qurubat. Qurubat, a plural of qurba, to bring you closer. The good deeds are all collectively said to be qurubat, right? But in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has pointed to two forms of qurubat. تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع, they are up at night praying, and at the beginning of the ayah, and at the end of the ayah, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. The first form of qurba is salah, is called qurba lazima, meaning its effect is indigenous to the person doing it himself, does not go beyond that. لازمة تلزم صاحبها. But the other one, وهم رزقناهم ينفقون, is called the قربة متعدية, meaning it goes beyond the effect on one's own person to other people as well. مش كده؟ When you give a صدقة, it متعدية, it goes to the other person, the benefit goes to the other person. And you need these two. You need these two. You need to have things to be done that are going to help your own case, lazima, to you, and you need to do that which brings good to the others. And this is why you will always find in the Quran Kareem, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. مش كده؟ Always. One is lazim, the other is متعدي. طيب. These are the two pillars upon which a mu'min builds his faith and his relation to Allah. خوفا وطمعا. خوفا وطمعا. Out of fear of his punishment and out of seeking his rewards, inshallah. I guess by now you understand why I had to fine-tune the presentation of Al-Isha last night, in that it has to be brought to all of us and to our attention that you cannot just choose one way and not the other in your life dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to have both in front of you. You have to have both in front of you.
For the balance, that creates the balance.
Absolutely.
For both sides have to be equally.
يعني to say, we'll talk about that again. For example, Al-Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, كرم الله وجهه ورحمه الله. He has a saying that is very perceptive and true. He said, وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته عليه. الفقيه كل الفقيه من لم يقنط الناس من رحمة الله ولم يؤمنهم مكره. See? عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. أين أبوك؟ أيوة. الإمام علي is saying the following. He's saying a true faqih, الفقيه كل الفقيه, the true faqih is one who doesn't get people reach a state of being despair of the mercy of Allah by telling them, all you're doing, you're going to hell and there's no hope for you and you're doomed and damnation, all of that. He does not get into a state of desperation of the mercy of Allah, nor is he the one who would have them take the punishment of Allah lightly. وَمَنْ لَمْ يُؤَمِّنْهُمْ مَكْرًا. You don't make people who are listening to you take the punishment of Allah ever so lightly. No. So essentially, somebody has to be weaving in between these two notions very carefully, very carefully. And I am going to tell you a couple of stories here about the Salaf al-Salih and how they dealt with these situations. For example, there was a tabi'i by the name of Ibn Sirin. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shaykh Shakir. Ibn Sirin had a talent of, what was his talent, Mr. Mustafa Ibn Sirin? Tafsir al-Ahlam, right? In fact, he has a book by just that name, Tafsir al-Ahlam, Ibn Sirin. Meaning dream interpretation. طبعا we don't want to go into this subject matter in any detail because this is a very specific notion that has to be related to the person who is doing it, and it's not something that is an acquired science, for example. And what you will find a lot of people, contemporary folks that writing things like that, and they tell you if you see something like this in their dream, then it means that this is going to happen or that is going to happen. We don't want to go there. But I am citing the example of Ibn Sirin, وهو تابعي صالح, and he had indeed that ability. And here is what happened. On one occasion, a man comes to Ibn Sirin and says, "Ya Shaykhana, I have had a dream that I was listening to the adhan. Allah, I was listening to the adhan in my dream. What does that mean?" And Ibn Sirin looked at him and he said, "You are going to be going to Hajj. You are going to be going to do Hajj." An hour later, the same setting, another man comes to Ibn Sirin and says, "Ya Shaykhana, I had a dream that I was hearing the adhan. What does that mean?" And Ibn Sirin responds, "You're going to be going to jail." Allah. So the people around him, they were baffled. They said, "Yeah, Ibn Sirin, these two men came to you with the same dream, both of whom have heard the adhan in their dreams. And to one you say, you're going to Hajj, whereas to the other you say you're going to jail. How come?" And Ibn Sirin had a very convincing response, actually. But the response that tells you that this is a talent that is innate to that person. It is not something that you and I can dabble our abilities in. It doesn't work this way. So he said, the first man who came, when I looked at his face, I saw signs of taqwa, salah. I saw signs of purity of character on this face and his eyes. And as soon as I saw him, and he told me his dream, I recalled the verse of Surah Al-Hajj, wherein المولى عز وجل وأذن في الناس بالحج يأتوك رجالا وعلى كل ضامر يأتين من كل فج عميق. The verse is saying, when you make adhan in the people, then they will come to Mecca to walking and riding and من كل فج عميق, from every place in the world. So I related this to his dream and I gave him the answer I gave. So how about the second man, they say? He said, I saw the other thing on the face of that man. I was uncomfortable to his looks. He didn't look right, unlike the first one. And as soon as I saw his face, I remembered the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 70 of Surah Yusuf, wherein he says, فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ جَعَلَ السِّقَايَةَ فِي رَحْلِ أَخِيهِ ثُمَّ أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ إِبَا أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ إِنَّكُمْ لَسَارِقُونَ. لا إله إلا الله, لا إله إلا الله. فتح, the فتح, this is not something that you learn in school. The verse is talking about the time when the brothers of Yusuf went to Egypt and he was there in charge of the supplies and everything, and when the times were tough and these people were coming to get their supplies and go back to their homes. And then the trick that Yusuf played when he put the measure of the king in the story, and in his brother's luggage, and he ordered his people to make the call أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون. All you camels, you are thieves. Some of you is a thief. Tamam? And indeed, you know the rest of the story, when they got the Sawar Malik from his, and they said, we're going to have to capture this guy, we're going to have to hold him. And this was Yusuf's brother, sibling from the same mother and father, because the rest of the Zuriya were from another marriage. But this Binyamin was his brother. And they knew that they took Yusuf many, many years ago and lost him. They can't go back to their father now and say, we also lost his brother. So what they said was what? They tried to bargain. Why don't you take up one of us and just let this guy go? They know what's going to happen when they go back to Yaqub. And Yusuf, no, he said no. We only hold he whom the theft was found in his luggage. So, Ibn Sirin, back to our story, recalls that verse and sees that this man is going to be jailed. Same ru'ya, right? Same dream, different interpretations, depending on who you're talking to. Depending on who you're talking to. This is why our scholars have taught us that الفتوى تكون على مقتضى الحال. تكون على مقتضى الحال. يعني is depending on the surrounding circumstances. You cannot take a fatwa in vacuum and let it loose. No. It has to be encompassed with all the circumstances that surround it. That way you get to a proper fatwa, inshallah, or a proper opinion. And having said that, I remember also that our very dear Aba Ali, Khuna Shakib, he mentioned something similar to that one time when he was sitting in the prime location here at this corner, and said that on one occasion a man came. We were talking about من يقتل مؤمنا عمدا, killing a believer deliberately, مش خطأ, not by accident. And the verses are there are opinions on both sides for that fatwa. Some people say he has no tawbah, other people say he has the right for tawbah. Right. On one occasion, a man comes to Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma wa ardahuma, and he says to him, هل للقاتل من توبة? Is there a tawbah? Is there repentance for somebody who kills deliberately? And Abdullah ibn Abbas looks at him and says, yes, there is a tawbah for somebody who kills. Although we have recited the verse together here, ومن يقتل مؤمنا متعمدا فجزاؤه جهنم خالدا فيها وغضب الله عليه ولعنه وأعد له عذابا عظيما. Remember the ayah? We talked about that. So he says, yes, there is a tawbah for he who commits murder as such, deliberate murder. And sometime later another man comes to Abdullah ibn Abbas and asks the same question. Is there a tawbah for he who commits an act of murder? And Abdullah ibn Abbas, in this case, he looks at the man and says, no, there is no tawbah for him. And obviously, he was asked by the Sahaba, how come? And he said, I looked at the eyes of the first man and I saw signs of repentance and sorrow. I knew that this man had already committed the crime, and I couldn't look the doors of tawbah in his face. If I tell him there is no tawbah, what's he going to do? So I said yes. Whereas in the other case, the other man, I saw the spark of evil coming out of his eyes, and it told me that he is somebody who is committed on doing the act. He hasn't done it yet, but he wants the rukhsa, to be able to do it and know that he has tawbah, that he can fall back on. So I told him, no, to defer him from doing that act. فالفتوى الرأي حسب مقتضى الحال, depending on the circumstance. It is not an absolute thing. It has to depend on the circumstance. You see somebody, an acquaintance or a friend or a relative or somebody you know who is on the path of sinning, on the path of sinning, committing some ma'asiyah. Do you suppose that you would be doing him service to tell him, Ya akhi, inna Allah ghafurun rahim? Or would you, by telling him that, you would be actually encouraging him? Mushkila? You would be encouraging him to continue in the path of wrongdoing, because Allah is Ghafur Rahim, He is going to forgive him. La. That's not how you should approach it. To that person, you should remind him, أن الله شديد العقاب. مش كده? You have to remind him that. By the way, شديد العقاب is a description that was attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran al-Karim 14 different times. أن الله شديد العقاب. 14 different places mentioning شديد العقاب. You see?
What does it mean?
Hard punisher, severe punisher, شديد العقاب. For somebody like that who is really taking liberties with the hudud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has to be forewarned, ya akhi. You cannot appease him. No, you cannot appease him. On the other hand, if you find somebody who has committed a sin and is repentful and he's sorry, truly and clearly and evidently feeling the gravity of his actions, for that person you can say, in Allah Ghafur Rahim. That way you are also helping him. You are also helping him. Tamam? In Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 98, we cannot escape Surah Al-Ma'idah still. We conclude with one verse of it also. Mawla Azza wa Jalla says, اعلموا أن الله شديد العقاب وأن الله غفور رحيم. In the same ayah. You should know, اعلموا أن الله شديد العقاب, that Allah punishes severely. And it's saying, وأن الله غفور رحيم. And He is also the ever forgiving and the ever merciful. So that's how a perception of a believer has to be of Al-Mawla Azza wa Jalla. Has to be that way. On one occasion I remember somebody was talking about how Allah is forgiving and merciful and this and that. And one of our scholars answered by saying, indeed, it's the same Allah who is Ghafur Rahim, it's the same Allah who mandates that somebody who steals, you should cut their hand. So it puts things in perspective. Puts things in perspective. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that balance that Mr. Shahid mentioned earlier on, is what we should be putting in front of our eyes, and we lead our lives between the guidelines of those. of الخوف والرجاء. خوفا وطمعا. مش كده؟ خوفا وطمعا. يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا. Remember the verse of Surah Al-Sajdah, right? That we mentioned earlier. So this really was my take on what you were with us in Aisha last night, right? Yeah. when we had
Yeah, I
this guest
was,
speaker.
yeah.
This whole presentation is in response to the speaker's presentation last night. I was just trying to emphasize that you cannot just go by limping on one side and forgetting the other side of Allah's treatment to us.
Sure.
Okay, right? And some people try to take a higher road in the ibadah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is really not required from us. At the time of Umar al-Khattab, there was a woman in Medina, Imran Salih in Medina, who was declaring that she is worshipping Allah not because she fears Him. She doesn't fear Him. Not because she fears the nar. Not because she wants to get into Jannah. But she solely is worshipping Allah because she loves Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. A nice romantic notion that may give you a higher moral ground. But one when was brought to Umar ibn Khattab, he said, should I believe a woman or should I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His Quran? When He says, يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you this is the way you're supposed to be relating to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't improvise that. Don't improvise. One of the main rules of fiqh is the fact that al-asl fi al-ibadah al-ittiba'. In any act of worship, the main requisite is following, submitting. Just like Khawatim Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah Azza wa Jalla describes the mu'mineen by saying what? وَقَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا غُفْرَانَكَ رَبَّنَا وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ.
Could you repeat that last part again, please, regarding submitting? Connect the dots for me. Like, she says she's only
worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of love of Him, not out of fear of His nar, not out of desire to His Jannah. Right? And Umar said, no, that's not the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taught us in His book. He recited the verse of Surah Al-Sajdah, wherein Mawla Azza wa Jalla says, وَيَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا. خوفا وطمعا. By the way, خوفا وطمعا, that particular combination had appeared 4 times in the Quran Kareem. خوفا وطمعا, خوفا وطمعا, 4 times.
I understand خوف. Matama is what?
طمعا, seeking His, not forgiveness, but the طمع actually is actually the direct translation of the طمع is greed. You are greedy in the reward of Allah.
Okay.
You are looking for the reward of Allah.
Right.
And at the same time, you are fearful of His punishment. That's why. With that, I think I conveyed the notion that I wanted to convey about that matter, and would like to take your comments about this idea and see how you deal between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when going through life,
I'm just thinking this. If you have one thing, let's say you love or fear, can we automatically do the other thing in you, automatically shows up in you? Because let's say you have fear. And fear of Allah, you're already doing a lot of things right. So that means you are loving Allah also.
Haqqan.
Indirectly, you're loving Allah.
That's absolutely correct.
And
you don't follow
Yeah.
the words or the guidance of somebody you don't like.
Right.
Tamam.
So you
So it's indeed a sign of submitting and loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, you do this, you go ahead and do it. He says, you don't do that, you don't touch it.
Right.
Tamam.
So in other words, I'm saying that I don't have to be in love with him.
No.
I could get to the same place by just being in fear.
Basic. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's a very good way of looking at it, Mr. Shah. Indeed. Yes, Mr. Shah.
I will answer your question for my personal self.
Yeah.
To maintain the balance, I remind myself that I may have done something in the past or I may yet do something in the future that may be so wrong that because of that itself Allah might withhold His forgiveness from me. At the same time, I remind myself, perhaps I have done something in the past, or I may yet do something in the future. Because of that one thing alone, He will be a Ghafur Rahim and He may forgive me for everything. That keeps me in balance, and in real life, my example is that like all of us, I have also faced and continue to face the tests in life, the difficulties, the challenges. But I also experience that through that, I feel His help and presence. And the end of the challenge, I feel the relief that He provides me. That to me is attesting the fact, and it confirms my confidence in knowing that He is not necessarily angry with me, but He is showing me His rahm by providing me the relief.
You see?
It is the same that I see that our ancestors, whether it is Jang-e-Badr or Uhud or Khandaq, He put them through the tests, but at the end of the test He also provided the relief, which is His rahm. And I also use that thinking to remind myself that yes, He provides me the relief, but at the same time it comes after He has already tested me, which means the difficulties are going to come one after the other in this life, and that scares me that this is His message to me. And I pray that my Lord let my difficulties end in this life itself. I hope that I will not face these in the hereafter. Because there is no guarantee in the hereafter also. I may be put through a lot of difficulties. And so, with those two thoughts, I keep myself in balance, that I have confidence that He is Ghafur Rahim and forgiving and merciful, but I also know that every day I'm facing tests, difficulties, challenges, and that I will not be exempt from them in this life, and I pray He will exempt me in the hereafter.
Absolutely. You see, now we're talking about personal thoughts that come into the heart and mind of each of us when approaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while leading our life in this dunya. And these are very intricate ideas. These are very intricate ideas. And you and I should know that we oscillate between ta'a wal ma'asiyah, between obedience and sinning, right? That's us. That's because we are human beings, we are not angels. مش كده? We are never going to be free of sin. If you think that any of us here does not commit any transgression in their life, we're killing ourselves. We all do. We all do. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم says, كل ابن آدم خطاء. Every human being commits transgressions. Every human being. But he gives you the tail end of the hadith, the way out. وخير الخطائين التوابون. But the ones that are better are the ones that go back to Allah by tawbah. Right? So, you and I, we will commit transgressions, we will commit sins. The only thing is, we should learn, and I said that before, and I say it again, don't linger too long in that sinning zone. You already did it, khalas. Withdraw back. Don't stay with it, because الإصرار على المعصية now is another sin. to continually commit, the sin is another sin in itself. And you cannot seek Allah's forgiveness when you are somebody who is drinking, مثلا. Every night he is drinking. And he's making dua that Allah relieve him from this. لا. In fact, it doesn't work. You have to make a tawbah, and the tawbah, you have the shurut of tawbah, the conditions, you know them. We have heard them 1,000 times. The first of which is I have to give up that act. مش كده؟ الإقلاع على الذنب. First thing. Second, feeling sorry for having committed it. Third, intending sincerely never to get back to it again. Tawbah. And it's open for all of us here. باب التوبة مفتوح للعبد ما لم يغرغر. What is غرغرة? غرغرة is when the soul is coming out of the body at the end, the last throes of life. This is said غرغرة. If you are still before that stage, you have the door of the gateway of the tawbah open for you. Wallahi, there is never a more gracious blessing that Allah has given us Muslimin more so than the tawbah. Without the tawbah, wallahi, we will always be doomed. We will always be doomed. مش كده؟ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Al-Imran, in verses that I like to always recite when I pray, وسارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين. And then Allah describes المتقين الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. Explaining what are the attributes of these متقين. ينفقون في السراء والضراء, those who spend in hardships and in good time. والكاظمين الغيظ, and those who don't blurt into anger. والعافين عن الناس, and those who forgive others if they transgress against them. والله يحب المحسنين. And then Allah says, والذين إذا فعلوا فاحشة أو ظلموا أنفسهم ذكروا الله فاستغفروا لذنوبهم. Allah, the first time you read this verse, you'll be struck. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about المؤمنين, المتقين, المحسنين. And then he's saying in this ayah, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً, and those who whenever they commit a big transgression, فاحشة, ذكروا المؤمنين دول المتقين المحسنين, they are capable of, yes, they are. Yes, they are, because they are still human beings. But what they do then, إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُم ذكروا الله. When you remember Allah, you remind yourself with Allah, فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا لِذُنُوبِهِمْ, استغفر الله. ومن يغفر الذنوب إلا الله ولم يصروا على ما فعلوا. They don't persist on doing the bad deeds. They don't persist. ولم يصروا على ما فعلوا وهم يعلمون. And then he tells you, okay, if you are one of those, أولئك جزاؤهم إباء مغفرة من ربهم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض رضي الله عنهم ونعم أجر العاملين. شيء خالدين فيه. This is what's waiting for you. And another notion that Mr. Shahid was mentioning here is also the fact that there is hadith. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, إن العبد لا يحرم الرزق بالذنب يصيبه. سبحانك اللهم. Translation is that a subject of Allah, a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may be assigned some form of a risk from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some sort of bounty coming to him, but by committing a sin, Allah withholds back that. Subhanallah. Allah will hold it back. It was coming. If you will just maintain your path on Sirat al-Mustaqim, it will come to you. But by sinning, it goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إن العبد لا يحرم الرزق بالذنب يصيبه. تمام؟ Any other thoughts or personal takes about this very notion from anybody? تمام. خلاص, if there is nothing else, inshallah, then we shall close by the dua, inshallah, now, and get ready for our Isha. اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم يا أحد يا صمد يا من لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. نسألك اللهم أن تغفر لنا وأن ترحمنا. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا. اللهم تجاوز عن ذنوبنا وسيئاتنا واحشرنا مع الصالحين. اللهم إنا نسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك ونعوذ بك من عذابك يا شديد العقاب يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت. آمين. وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. بارك الله فيكم أجمعين.